Well, welcome to you all. I'm Alan Malloy. Well, we did. It was our first opportunity to be together last week, and it's fantastic. I'm really well privileged to be been asked to do this from Tibet Norberling, and I think what they're doing is amazing. The way they're reaching out to people, and yeah, look, I'm your slave. Really, I'm just your slave. This is not me. This is about you and fulfilling your needs. So whatever you want or to do, then we could do it. There is a course and there is a curriculum, and we'll cover all the topics, and we'll do the prayers, we'll do the Buddhist stuff in a minute. But I suppose just one thing before we do the prayers. This is while we're here. I'm teaching this same. It was effectively the same course face to face, and I did it yesterday at my Dharma Centre in Melbourne, Tara Institute in Melbourne, Australia, and on death and on death and impermanence, so exactly the same topics. And then it was interesting. The people, death, to talk about death is a bit of a taboo. It's a little bit of a taboo. So at the end of the course, at the end of last night, a few people came up and spoke to me, and I was sort of shocked by the amount of trauma, of grief and loss that people had experienced in their life. I was just shocked. We know it's out there. We know people, but the amount, and then as they progressively just opened up because they felt safe to do so, then we were able to just listen to their stories. But nothing else. Just listen to their stories. Not provide therapy. Not provide healing. But just to listen to their stories. And I thought that was perhaps useful, because what other venues do we have in life, in our society, where we provide a safe space for people to talk about grief? And as we were talking, I don't know. There's just, I mean, if you go to the pub, to the hotel, and you're sitting there with some friends and you're having a few drinks and a meal, they don't want to talk about your grief. They want to have a happy time. They want to be happy. They want to enjoy the food. They want to make laughter. They don't want to sit there and talk about their losses and their sadnesses and how they're coping or not coping. And I thought, yeah, it's actually really rare to have an opportunity like we've got now to explore some of these things that are so poignant and so profoundly life-changing in each of our lives, and which we all experience. We've all experienced. So, anyhow, that was what came from me last night, and there was more intimate than this. I mean, there are barriers to doing that on a venue like doing it online, because I don't know. It's a bit quirky, and also it's been recorded. So what you say is recorded for prosperity. So we have to interject that. But like this is a safe place. Buddhist philosophy is so direct and the Tibetans are so direct. The Tibetans, I hope you've had a chance. They're really direct. If they think you're telling an untruth, they just say, you're lying, or you're a fool, or what you're saying is wrong. Yeah, they don't mince words. They don't mince words. But we sort of skirt around things and try to be polite or whatever. And Buddhist philosophy, very direct. This is the nature of existence. The nature of existence is impermanent. We will all die. The time of death is uncertain, and what is important at the time of death with this life? What makes meaning of this life? So that essential things we'll talk about. So it's incredibly valuable. It's an incredibly rare opportunity, and for the people in the room here today, tonight, but share what you want. Don't share what you don't want. It doesn't matter. But I'm sure you've all been, and when we went through I asked people last time to just give a little bit of an introduction about themselves, and we've got a couple of new people here, and if you wouldn't mind doing a little introduction. So after we've done the prayers, we'll do that, and then just so that helps me, and also helps other people know, where we're coming from and what sort of background people have, Okay, so now the prayers we start with, these are the traditional Buddhist prayers, and Shayla's, you should have been able to download. We downloaded it last week, but it's called Tablet DBS Practice Manual PDF, and we're on page six of that, where we do just the taking refuge and generating virtue. So I'll share that. Or Shayla, do you want to share it? Maybe you're the boss, so maybe you just share that, and then, or I can do it. It's not a problem. Actually, no, I'll do it because it's sort of easier. Then I can guide it. Whoops. Okay, so you should be all able to see that. It says taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. Is that visible or not visible? Okay, good. Thumbs up. Excellent. So now we do this.
oh, hang on. It looks like Michael's trying to share. Hang on 1 second. Who's sharing?
I've got share, and it says taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. Is that right?
No.
Okay, I'll just stop it and we'll start it again. Sorry about this. I may have moved it. So, let's okay. Share this one. Okay, is that visible now? Taking
yes.
refuge in. Okay, I moved it from screen to screen. Sorry, that was my problem. Okay, so now we're going to start with taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. So we say this 3 times in English. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Now, we do the Mandala Offering, and we spent some time going over this gesture. Did people get it last time? I mean, I'll say, okay, this is the gesture of the Mandala Offering, and the 2 fingers in the middle sticking up, that's Mount Meru, and the four interwoven fingers and thumbs represent the continents, the major continents, which is the Buddhist view of cosmology of the universe. So that's representative of the Buddhist universe. Mount Meru in the middle with the 2 ring fingers sticking up, and then the other interwoven fingers. It's really tricky. Yeah, it's really hard to do it. But anyhow, I think Erin's got it. She's got it. Well done. Shayla's got it. I mean, maybe it's best you can see it from the bottom up, from the top down. It's a bit hard, but anyhow, that's so when we do this. The main thing though is to think what you're offering, and we offer everything to the Buddha. So, and we visualize at this stage, we've actually visualized the Buddha in front of us, the Buddha sitting on his throne with his right hand touching the lotus seat and his left hand in his lap. And surrounding him are all the other Buddhas and gurus and holy beings. Okay. So now we do this, we'll just do it in English. The ground is blessed with scent and with flowers strewn, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 lands, sun and moon. Transformed as a pure land and offered, may all wandering beings enjoy this pure land, this Buddha land. Now the inner Mandala Offering, that's the next one up. This is to do with not the external world, but now we're offering the internal world. All those objects of my mind's 3 poisons, coveted friend, foe and stranger, body, wealth, worldly pleasure, without a feeling of loss I surrender. Receive them, please, and free all beings from their bondage. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatiyami. So now you offer it. So now we won't do the Heart Sutra. It's a bit too long. We'll run out of time. We'll go now to, okay, the foundation of all good qualities. This is a prayer from Lama Tsongkhapa on the Lamrim. It's a summary of the Lamrim path. The Lamrim is a graduated path. So we're just going to read the first 3 verses because they're relevant to what we're doing now. So we'll just read these 3 verses. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect pure Guru. Correct devotion to them is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon them with great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once is greatly meaningful and is difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly, day and night, takes its essence. This life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. So that last verse, this life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. And after death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. So that's what the topic we're sort of talking about at the moment. And then we'll do the dedication prayers at the end when we finish the session. Okay, so so we do have a couple of new people here. Cool. Okay, so this is the syllabus I'm working on. You can see that, the second session, the benefits of meditating on death. Is that visible to everybody?
Yes.
Thumbs up? Thumbs up? Good. Okay, good. Okay, good. So this is what we're ostensibly going to talk about today, but we don't have to. I mean, we don't have to. We can be flexible. There's not a problem. So I suppose from okay, well, let's just briefly go through these. But having said that, I mean, we're going to briefly do it. But this book here, I haven't got the cover on it, but it's oops, yeah, okay. I don't know. Liberation in the palm of your hand. I don't know if you can say liberation, but okay, this is yeah, I mean, it might be better. Okay, so liberation in the palm of your hand. Okay, this is this is the best textbook. It was written by Pabonka Rinpoche, last century, so it's fairly contemporary and it's a wisdom publication. Okay, this is probably the best solid Lamrim text we've got because it's a bit more contemporary than the older ones. Okay, so Lama Tsongkhapa had his great text, the great treatise on the path, the middling treatise on the path, and the small treatise on the path. So, and then he had always other versions of it. So Lama Tsongkhapa did those great texts, and they're absolutely fantastic. They're fantastic. Then Pabonka Rinpoche, last century, gave this teaching in Tibet, and Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche made extensive notes because there was no recording, and those notes from Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche, who was the Dalai Lama's junior tutor, have become this text. And it must have been amazing. Here was Pabonka Rinpoche in Tibet, in central Tibet, in Lhasa. I can't remember which monastery, maybe it was Sera Monastery, I'm not sure. Sitting there, and thousands, maybe tens of thousands of monks from all over Tibet, and nuns and lay people, tens and tens of thousands of people came and just sat there, probably in the sun and the rain, just for day after day after day, weeks, several weeks, listening to Pabonka Rinpoche teach the entire path. They didn't have any amplification, so no audio systems, no sophisticated microphones, and that. But it said that one of the qualities of the Buddha's speech is that you can hear it from everywhere, and people would say they were able to hear his speech from everywhere. So imagine a crowd. I mean, Mark spoke about the football. Well, you imagine if someone's in the middle of a football stadium talking and they didn't have a microphone, no one would hear him. Well, effectively the same thing was happening when Pabonka Rinpoche taught, that he was sitting in this huge area with tens of thousands of people around him, and yet they could all hear him. And that shows that he had the qualities of the Buddha's speech. Now, in this book, the version I'm reading, the wisdom version I'm reading, it's on page 341, and there's the advantages of meditating on death. I mean, it's so contrary to what we in our sort of society believe, that most people in our society would believe that there is no advantage to meditate on death. They'd say, why would you want to meditate on death? It's just an absolute waste of time. You don't think about death. It's too morbid. There's no benefit for it. It just makes you sad. Let's be happy. Let's be happy. Now, we have to, because it's part of our existence. It's part of the nature. It's part of the whole impermanent nature of phenomena. It's all part of the whole impermanent. So and we discussed that a bit last time. We talked about gross impermanence and subtle impermanence. So gross impermanence is just when material things come together and then they shatter. So we buy a brand new car and we're driving it home and we're really relaxed, and somebody goes through a traffic light and hits us. Our car's written off, and hopefully we're not too damaged, but then suddenly impermanent. That's that gross impermanence. Birth is a type of impermanence. Aging is a type of impermanence. Sickening is a type of impermanence. And then death is that gross impermanence. So that's a gross impermanence. But then at a subtle level, then there's the very, very subtle impermanence that's occurring at every moment in our existence. And we know that from studying science and molecular structures and physics and chemistry, physiology. We know that even this human body is to every cell, every molecular process, every cell is turning over and changing at a momentary level. So this Alan that started talking, maybe 20 minutes ago, he's different now. He's different. The same Alan that you're seeing on your screen, the same Michael, the same Erin, the same Mark, Annie, Sheila, Barbara, Kodo. You've all changed. You're not the same person. And similarly, not only physically, physiologically, the molecules, the chemistry, but also emotionally and mentally you've changed, because one moment of mind leads to the next moment of mind, and that moment of mind leads to the next. And so we have this continuum of mind that is continually changing. And the principal cause for that change is the previous moment. And that previous moment will never occur again. The next moment occurs, but then it's gone with the next moment. So we're just moving and changing. So there's that subtle impermanence and the gross impermanence. So that's one of the incredible benefits about meditating on death. By meditating on that gross impermanence, then we can then speculate about how things change subtly at a very subtle level. So now we have 6 benefits of meditating on death. This is according to the Lamrim, Pabonka Rinpoche and Lama Tsongkhapa. So I'll just read these out a little bit briefly. Your actions will become very beneficial. So your actions will become beneficial. Your spiritual practice will become very powerful. Your spiritual practice will become very powerful. It is important at the beginning of the practice, it's important at the middle of the practice, and it's important at the end of your practice. And then the last one, you will die with a peaceful, happy mind, free of regrets. Okay, so Michael, you said you wanted to practice for your own death. Number 6, you will die with a peaceful, happy mind, free of regrets. That's the benefit of this. That's the benefit of this. We will die. We will die with a peaceful mind, a happy mind, and we're free of regrets. And why will we be free of regrets? Well, if we go back to number 1, our actions will become very beneficial. So we'll have used this life to its full potential. This life, this transitory, short, really short life, we'll have used it to its most potential. And our spiritual practice in particular will have become very powerful. And then when it comes to die and we look back on our life, we will have, we'll die with a peaceful, happy mind, free of regrets. So what I'll do is, I'm not going to make stuff up. So I'm going to read from The Liberation in the Palm of the Hand. For those of you who are there, it's on page 341 of this edition. The advantages of remembering death. I'm not going to read it all, but just read a little bit. There's one sutra from Buddha's words, his own words, the Buddha's own words, It goes like this, the great sutra on Buddha's nirvana. Buddha said, amongst animal tracks, that of the elephant is best. Amongst all attitudes, death and impermanence is best. So I'll read that again. Amongst animal tracks, that of the elephant is the best, or the biggest, or the most powerful. I think that the most, the strongest. Amongst all attitudes, that of death and impermanence is best, in that it is the strongest, it's the most powerful for transforming the mind. So to continue this, so in other words, you will practice the Dharma faultlessly when you recall death. So this, I mean, that's one of that's probably the principal benefit, is that by understanding death, it recategorizes what we do. Okay, I mean, we can do a little exercise. Maybe we'll do a little exercise in a minute. We'll look at when we finish this section. We're going to do a little brief contemplative meditation, where we, having understood that death is definite, and where time of death is indefinite, and nothing helps at the time of death except Dharma, then we're going to evaluate what we've done in the last, let's say, for you guys, you're at the end of the day, so you've got a good block. You've got an 18-hour block, or a 16, 12, 14, 16-hour block to look at and say, and evaluate, what have I done in this period of time that makes life meaningful, that really makes life meaningful, and in the context of understanding death. This is it. We now have a new way, a lens. So we're looking at like a lens, and we're saying, and that lens to examine, and the lens is in the context of death and impermanence, is what I did then, does that stack up? Is that valuable? And then, okay, what I did then through the lens of death and impermanence, considering I am going to die and then I might die tomorrow, does that stack up? Well, how do I evaluate that? How valuable in the long term was that? How long-term benefit? Now, we have to go to work. Maybe. We have to eat. We have to drink. We have to have security. We have to look after people. We have to look after our bodies. We have to look after our minds. We have to do all that sort of stuff. We have laws that we live with in our society. We have to comply with those laws. Okay. So all that stuff. But within that, how can we make that more valuable? So there's action, and then there's motivation. Action and motivation. Now, it is possible that every action we do, even if it seems negative, even if it seems harmful, can be transformed into positive with the correct motivation. Whether it's possible, I think that's possible. For example, you've probably heard of the story of the Buddha and the 500 merchants. Now, this is in Buddha's life story. The Buddha was on a boat, and there was an evil ship's captain or helmsman or something. And his idea was that he was going to kill everybody on board that boat, and there were 500 merchants. He was going to kill them all to get their wealth. I mean, that was it. He was an evil person. Okay. The Buddha in his previous life then thought, okay, well, this is a tragedy. It's going to be so tragic if this happens. What can I do? And he evaluated and said, I have to make a tough decision. So I'm going to kill that ship's captain. I'm going to kill him to save the other 500 people. Now, that was the decision the Buddha made. But the Buddha made that decision from a really deep understanding of karma and cause and effect, and what evolves, and the importance of also understanding from his mind his motivation, his deep motivation. So his mind was, we normally kill out of anger, desire, attachment, greed, jealousy, ignorance, but usually it's out of anger. So usually, say somebody kills out of anger, or sport, we kill for sport, for example. And these are sort of like pretty negative sort of emotion. Now, the Buddha was able to kill with a mind of compassion, and also knowing that although he killed with the mind of compassion, that action of killing still will bring a negative result for him in the future. And it did. It said that the Buddha in his life in India, when he became the wheel-turning Buddha 2,500 years ago, it said that like he stepped on a thorn and caused an injury, and he was asked for what was the cause of that injury, and he said it's because of this action I did by killing the 500 people, the 500 merchant, by killing the captain of the boat who was trying to kill 500 merchants. So the Buddha had to suffer karma. You don't escape karma. Karma gets you. Even the Buddha is a victim to karma. So we can't escape karma, but because of his action motivated by compassion and love, he was able to obviously generate a lot of positive karma. So the motivation. So what we do in life, I think that's it. What we do in life, how do we change? How can we transform actions? We go to work, we have to go to work. Maybe we have to go to work. If we do so, how can we transform that by having a really positive motivation? The mind of bodhicitta. I'm going to do this work today with the mind that seeks to enlighten everybody, every living being. I will become enlightened for the benefit of all. I'll do it with love, wishing others to be happy. I'll do it with compassion, wishing others to be free from suffering. So we do that with that motivation. So that's how we can change. So as we evaluate, once again, as we look through the lens of death and impermanence, how can we modify our attitudes, which will then have a transformative effect on what we do? So that's it. Now, then Pabonka Rinpoche goes on to give some nice stories. Like he says here, many of the great adepts in Tibet used to hold skull caps, trumpets made of human thigh bones, and so on to improve their awareness of death and impermanence. The Vinaya, which are the teachings on the religious discipline, speaks of keeping drawings of skeletons in bathhouses and the like for the same reason. So when they talk about skull caps, they actually mean the human skull, because in Tibet, are you familiar with how they used to dispose of bodies in Tibet? Yeah, a few nods. Okay, they used to take the bodies to the burial, well, not the burial grounds, to like a what would you call it? A butchery site, well, the cemetery, and there'd be butchers, and they'd cut up the body and feed it to the vultures and the other animals. So they actually got rid of their bodies by, well, recycling. It's absolutely recycling. So they were really streets ahead of us. They didn't waste time and effort and space and resources by having a nice golden cough with angels on it, and then putting half a ton of concrete around it to build a nice mausoleum. No. They just fed chopped you up and fed you to the vultures. So that means they had a lot of bits left over. So they did have skull caps. So the skull cap was literally cut off from the top here, and they'd clean it a bit, and then they'd use that for put it like a bowl, and put offerings in it, and they could even put sacred offerings in it, and that would represent death. And then the thigh bone trumpet, if you cut the human thigh bone off up towards the hip, and then clean it out, and then put a little hole at the end, you get a nice little trumpet, and it makes a very interesting sound, and that was used once again in religious practices, especially the chur practice. The chur practice means to offer, where you imagine chopping up your body and offering it to the spirits. So there's all sorts of things. And the Vinaya speaks of keeping drawings of skeletons in bathhouses and the like. Well, that'd be pretty cool. I think if we went to the local swimming pool in the change room there, and there were pictures of skeletons, and we could have it beside the mirror, and as you're looking at yourself, you could see the skeleton and think, oh, what's the difference? Well, the only difference is time. There's me now getting dressed for my swimming, and there's me in maybe 10 years, 20 years time, the skeleton. There's only time. I think that'd be so cool. Okay. devote the whole day to that. Okay. Okay, so this is, I'll read what a couple of other things from here. I'll try to get it right. Okay, it says, Geshe Chengawa says, a great, one of the Kadampa Geshe says, if you do not do at least one meditation on impermanence in the morning, I think you will devote the whole day to this life only. Okay, I'll read that again because it got to double negatives, or not, lots of negatives. If you do not do at least one meditation on impermanence in the morning, I think you will devote the whole day to this life. Now, devoting the whole day to this life, if you're devoting your activities to this life only, then that's not Dharma practice. That's not spiritual practice. The definition of spiritual practice is doing things which have the aim of at least the future life, at least. That's the small scope. So some of you have studied Lamrim, then like Barbara, you said you did the November course, you would have studied the three scopes, the small, medium, and great scope. Okay, so the small scope is I devote my activities and my thoughts and attitudes and aspirations to the next life's benefit, so a higher rebirth. Okay. The medium scope is then I devote my actions, thoughts, and attitudes to liberation, which is complete liberation from samsara to achieving nirvana. That's a medium scope, which is for oneself alone. The great scope is then I devote my actions, thoughts, aspirations, attitudes, all that to achieving full enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's the great scope, and that's where we aspire to be. We aspire to be on that great scope. Now, great scope, medium scope, small scope, low scope, and below that is just for this life only. That's not spiritual practice, because in this life we are just acting under the influence of attachment, desire, pride, ego, jealousy, fear, ego, all that sort of stuff. So it's not spiritual practice. So that's when Geshe Chengawa says, if you do not do at least one meditation on the impermanence in the morning, I think you will devote the whole day to this life. So what he's saying, that meditation on impermanence shatters your interest in this life only, just shatters it, because this life is so transitory. It's just so transitory that if we meditate on impermanence, then just working for this life alone is not worth it. So if we imagined, I don't know, how long have Homo sapiens been around? 1 million years? I don't know. Homo sapiens, there were Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, let's say 1 million years, okay. But before that, there was the dinosaurs and all that. I mean, so we're talking billions of years, and then the Earth and the Big Bang. Okay, so supposing that's just when Earth got created, and which is after the Big Bang, so a lot of time had passed then. And then Homo sapiens are like here, like that little distance between my fingers. And then if I divided that up, say that's 1 million years, so the distance between my fingers there is the Homo sapiens. And that's been generous, I think. It's probably more like, the breadth of a hair, I don't know. And then if we divided that up, that's 1 million years. So, and if we divided that up into 10,000ths, that's a human lifespan of 100 years. So the distance between my fingers, and divided it up by 10,000. Okay, so we're talking about 1 millimeter of a millimeter, or I don't know. It's getting too small. I think it's too small to measure. So that's this life, and that's assuming we live to 100 years. So that's why in that text we read out at the beginning, Lama Tsongkhapa's Foundations of All Excellence, this life is like a water bubble. It's just like a water bubble. So it just comes to the surface, pops. So that's how quick this life is, or a flash of lightning in the sky. So the sky is existence, and where a flash of lightning and then existence, the darkness of the sky continues, but where a flash of lightning, which is only millisecond or something like that. So that's where, I mean, okay. So the advantage of being most beneficial. Okay, I got to stop talking because I get sick of my own voice. Please now turn your microphones off and tell me where you're at with this, because we can just hammer through this, or we can sort of engage it a bit. So I would love to hear your opinions and all that sort of stuff.
I'll just say thank you, Alan. I really do find thinking about dying in the morning really does change the day. I've been really trying to do that a little bit more lately, and it just changes the flavor of things. I find there are a lot of situations that maybe used to trigger me a little bit more and drag me into unhealthy habits, and now there's a little bit more space to just kind of let, that's not really important, and just kind of let it go. So I think it gives a good perspective.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else got anything to say? Hello, Kodo. Yep. Okay, yeah. Oh, you're still on mute. Still on mute. You're still on mute. We can lip read. Anybody? Oh, there we are. Hello. There we are.
I did the video instead. Are we going to do led by you a guided meditation on death, or
Yep.
it says down
sure.
there? Then yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'd
sure.
love to do that. Yeah.
We will. But by that, what do you mean? But what do you mean, on the actual death process, or do you mean on the?
Well, I'm reading Introduction to the 9-Point Meditation on
yes.
Death. So any meditation
Yep.
to clarify points of concentration and so on.
Sure. Okay. Good. The 9-point meditation. Yeah, 9-point meditation depth is really important. Yeah. Well, we will get that. Let me say, on this one we talk about, as I scroll up there a little bit on the screen, you should be able to see that introduction to the 9-point meditation on death, and that's the inevitability of death. So the first point of the 9-point meditation on death is that death is inevitable. So we'll be doing that. Yeah, we'll be doing that today. So let's go through here. Now, the second point, your spiritual practice will become more powerful. So I'll now refer back to Pabonka Rinpoche. Okay, so I'll just read out what he says here, because this is really, I mean, this is a master who's transformed his mind from being, his mind was like ours, but he formed it into the mind of a Buddha just by these practices. So we have to believe this is a really great authority. Okay, so the advantage of being, your spiritual practice will become more powerful. Okay, this is so. Pabonka Rinpoche says, if you recall death and impermanence, they say you will destroy non-dharmic things. You will destroy attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, and so on. You will have great power behind you in completing the accumulations, and you will manage to destroy your delusions and misdeeds at the same time. Okay, so I'll read that again. If you recall death and impermanence, they say you will destroy non-dharmic things. And by things, he's not saying external things, he's saying your attachment, your anger, your jealousy, your pride, your egotism, etc. You will have great power behind you in completing the accumulations, and you will manage to destroy your delusions and misdeeds at the same time. Now, the accumulations, do people understand what accumulations are? Accumulate, okay, good. A few nods, but maybe not. Okay. There are two we have to accumulate positive mental qualities, positive energy positive mental qualities and positive energy on our mind to be able to achieve our goals. So the two of these are basically the accumulation, the accumulation of wisdom and the accumulation of merit, merit. Now, wisdom and merit. Now, wisdom comes from understanding at an ultimate level, comes from understanding the absolute nature of reality. So we talk about that as emptiness. But wisdom also comes from understanding things like death and impermanence, especially subtle impermanence. And then by understanding those, we develop a really deep wisdom that can transform our lives. The ultimate transformation in life will occur when we understand emptiness and we understand the ultimate nature of reality. That's the thing which really transforms our mind. So the accumulation of wisdom occurs by understanding reality and developing a really clear, concentrated mind. So we have to meditate on develop good concentration, then develop on the nature of reality and meditate on that. The second one, the accumulation of merit, is the generation of positive energy, positive potentials in our mind. So positive karma, virtuous karma, and we call it merit. Merit in our mind. The Tibetan word merit. It's hard to explain, but merit is the spiritual strength. I said it's a force. It's a spiritual force that we create in our mind. And so when Pabongpa Rinpoche says, we have great power behind you in completing the accumulations. So these accumulations of merit and wisdom don't occur just of their own, they require effort. So by doing what you're doing here and dedicating your time and effort, money, etc., to studying Buddhist philosophy, that both increases the wisdom, the accumulation of wisdom, and accumulates the accumulation of merit, both of them together. So accumulating very sharp mind as well as positive spiritual energy. So those two things together, if we only have a sharp mind but don't have the merit, then so many obstacles, we won't have the spiritual energy to complete the tasks. If we have a lot of merit but no wisdom, then we'll be able to do a lot of things, but those things could be really destructive. So we see that in people who are really wealthy, but deluded, and destructive. And they have power, which comes from merit, but then they use it to destroy, to harm. I suppose, well, let's say Vladimir Putin. He's got incredible power, so he has created a lot of merit, but using that to destroy. Okay. But many other, you can see it. You can see people in life, in the world, incredible power that came from accumulating merit. But without the wisdom, then that power is used for just self-aggrandizement and used just for the activities of this life, not the future life. Whereas at least if those people thought, okay, this life is impermanent, what about the future life? If I use this power I've got now to benefit the future life, that would completely transform their actions. If Vladimir Putin said, well, I'm much more interested in the future life than this life, I wouldn't be attacking Ukraine. I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be doing something beneficial, be planning for the betterment of the world, etc. Okay, so that's the second one. I think we've lost our screen sharing. So I'll just redo the screen sharing again. Cool. Okie dokie. So you can see the screen again now? That's okay, good. So the second one here now is, oops, make it a bit bigger. Oops, there we go. So it is important at the beginning of the practice, it's important in the middle of the practice, and it's important at the end of your practice. So if we start at the beginning, then it motivates us. So at the beginning, it motivates you because it is the principal cause for us to start practicing. If we understand death, then that is the gateway. It's like the gateway to the practice. Without understanding death, I mean, why would we want to practice? It's said, for example, when we do this mandala, there are 4 continents. Now, those core continents are said to actually exist. Now, in the northern continent, the humans there live for 1,000 years, and it's set at 1,000 years. In the other continents, the east and west continent, they live 250 years and 500 years, and it's set. Our continent, the southern continent, is the only continent where the lifespan is uncertain, which makes us the best place to practice Dharma. Because of the uncertainty of death, we have to practice Dharma now, because we have to practice Dharma, then we have to practice now. So it motivates us to practice. Whereas these humans on the other continents, I mean, why are they going to start practicing Dharma now when they know they're going to live for 1,000 years? And then in the godly realms, where they live for eons, they don't suffer, so there's no motivation to practice Dharma. So recollecting death is the doorway. So it opens up the door. It opens up the door for us to enter Dharma practice. And then it is important in the middle of your practice because it continues to motivates us. If we meditate on death and impermanence every day, then it motivates you. I do. Every morning I meditate, I recite that prayer, the foundation of all excellence, and I meditate on death and impermanence every day. And also in my work, I see death and impermanence because people are dying all the time. So death and impermanence, it stimulates you to continue working. And at the end, so it's important at the end of your practice, because it will bring your Dharma practice to completion, to fulfillment at the end. So that's 5 of the benefits. Now, the last one is you will die with a peaceful, happy mind, free of regrets. So I'll just read out what Pabonka Rinpoche says, because that's perfect. At death, you will have the confidence that comes from practicing Dharma faultlessly and be like a son returning to his father's household. So it's just like going home. I think what they're saying is death will be like going home rather than anything. And then there's Longdo Lama Rinpoche said, I am not afraid of being impermanent. I will be an old monk in the morning and get the body of a god that night. So that's pretty cool. I think that's so cool. I'm not afraid of being impermanent. I will be an old monk in the morning and get the body of a god at night. Okay. Having said that, Lama Sopa, I'm sure many of you met Lama Sopa, he's extraordinary. He says, you go to bed at night and you look down at your hand and you see a hand. He said, but then in the morning you wake up and it has claws and hair on it. And you think, so you've died. And then in the morning you wake up like an animal with claws and hair on it, a hairy sort of paw for killing or something. So that's Lama Sopa's take on it. No, you're not going to wake up as a god in the morning. You're going to wake up as a hairy animal in the morning. So don't take anything for granted. Don't do it. So there's a good summary here. So if we're a Dharma practitioner, so these are the benefits. If we're a Dharma practitioner, we're happy to die. We're happy to die. So we will die peacefully and gracefully. And then we will die with no regrets. So that's the hallmark of a Dharma practitioner. They will die, they're happy to die because it's of their Dharma practice and they've accumulated merit and wisdom. So the next life is guaranteed. They will die peacefully, gracefully, and finally they will have no regrets. So that's yeah. So that's, I think, just in your own time and space, you can read about that. And we've been given a lot of information that's been distributed today on to background. But if you want to get a copy of Liberation the Palm, that's great. So we're now going to start talking about the 9-point meditation on death, which Kodo sort of kindly brought up. And the first point of that is the inevitability of death. But once again, I'd like to stop a bit just for a second and just see how people are traveling. So We've spoken about the benefits of death, and now we're going to talk about the inevitability of death. Yep. Annie?
Yeah, I have a question going back to merit and wisdom. So if you're trying so hard to get something done and it's just so hard to do it, okay, is this what you're talking about? And there's a book that came out a while, and there's controversy with the Geshe that wrote it, The Diamond Cutter, but I found it fascinating, because if you want something, then you go out and you give it or help someone do exactly what you're needing. So I don't know if that has any correlation, but it just seems like sometimes lately things are so hard to get done. So practice the diamond cutter. You understand what I'm talking with that. What's your take on that? Could you talk a little more?
Sure. Okay. Well, what you're saying is really, really important. And even in a worldly sense, we can't get things done. Some people really struggle with everything, and even individually in own life, we really struggle getting things done or achieving goals. And if we looked at it in our understanding of karma, it's because they haven't created enough merit. They might have the skill. They might have the skill. I mean, they might be a really wonderful mechanic, but they start up a business and they just can't get it working. They might have great skill in another area, but it just never fruits as success. So even in this life, we can directly see the benefits of having accumulated enough merit. It gives, I think the best way I can describe it is it gives you spiritual power. It gives you sort of power. Merit gives you power. The more merit you have. Now, you spoke about reading the Diamond Cutter Sutra. Yeah, read the Diamond Cutter Sutra. Yeah, absolutely. Reading that creates merit. Doing what you're doing here today creates merit. Meditating on Dharma subjects creates merit. And then there's the other things. Generosity creates merit. So if we want wealth, then we have to create generosity, and then morality by practicing morality and non-harmfulness, then we're creating merit, and that merit will ripen as a higher rebirth. Patience, if we then practice patience, if we practice that, creates the merit to in the future have physical beauty, and also to have really good relationships with people, and to have really good, long-term relationships and people, charisma and things like that. If we have joyous effort, then we create incredible merit, because joyous effort is what propels us to undertake virtue. And with joyous effort, then, once again, and that creates the causes to achieve things, but also in the future to have an entourage, and to be given power, and to be given authority, etc. Concentration obviously has the direct effect of pacifying the mind, and gives the long-term effect of having a very clear mind. And then wisdom, by practicing wisdom, we create a lot of merit to then achieve liberation and enlightenment. So that is 6 perfections. Generosity, morality, patience, choice, effort, concentration, and wisdom. They are a really potent way to create large amounts of merit. There's a story about Lama Tsongkhapa, who was the great Tibetan scholar. And he was such a good scholar, he could talk to Manjushri, the Buddha Manjushri. He could talk to, he would see the Buddha Manjushri and talk with him. And he got to a certain level in his studies. He was this incredible scholar. So the wisdom, he'd accumulated unbelievable wisdom. So the accumulation of wisdom was extraordinary. But then Manjushri said then he got to a stop. He couldn't go any further. And then Manjushri said to him, okay, it's because you haven't accumulated enough merit. So what did Lama Tsongkhapa do? He went to a cave in Tibet, and then did literally millions of prostrations, mandala offerings, like what we did, mandala offerings, taking refuge. He did all the preliminary practices. And then because of that accumulation of the vast merit he accumulated, then that helped his understanding of wisdom. And he was able to then, understand emptiness faultlessly. So even at that stage, so close to enlightenment, we have to accumulate merit. But even at our stage, for people who are struggling, then accumulating merit and purifying negativities. Okay, I'll give you my own little story, because this is, I like doing Nyungyes, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Nyungyes. This is a 2-day fasting retreat. It's really good. And please try to do one at least. I've done 80, close to 90 probably in my life, and I love them. You fast and prostrate, say mantras, meditate, and do a lot of, so accumulate a lot of merit and purify an enormous amount of negativities. Now, this year, I'm sort of exiting my businesses to try to have a simpler life and spend more time teaching and practicing Dharma. So I decided to had a big financial transaction that I've been struggling with my business partners. And there's been all sorts of obstacles. Also, whatever we do, it just was going nowhere. So earlier this year, I've been doing quite a few Nyungyes this year, and we did a couple at Sakadawa, and then also at over Losar, at very holy times where the power of the spiritual practice is magnified. It's said that if you do any virtue on the holy days, the holy days are like the Buddha's birth, death, enlightenment, first teaching, etc., then the merit of that is multiplied by 1 million. Ask Lama Zopa, he'll say, 1 million, but whatever, numbers aren't Tibetan's strongest point, but incredible opportunities to accumulate a lot of merit. So I did quite a few Nyungyes this year, and then I noticed after I did a couple in a row, and then suddenly this business transaction took a leap forward, and it was just really weird. Suddenly, wow, that problem's gone. And then so they did another one, and then another one, and then we went up another step until finally it had to be concluded by June 30th, the end of the financial year. So in early June, I did another one, and there were all sorts of problems, and they just got over the line by June 30th, and we did it. And so now I'm free. And then I just think it was so incredible how there was these stepwise benefits immediately after doing intense purification and intense accumulation of merit. So even in this world, you can achieve accumulate merit and purify negativities. We have to talk about purifying negativities. So one day maybe we can talk about that. Okay, so yeah, I hope that is that sort of where you're coming from, Annie, or?
Very much. And my husband and I sold a business this spring, and it was just a nightmare. And it finally finished out, and it's fine, but and I wish I would have realized about merit, because it was miserable.
Yeah. Totally understand.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. So merit, accumulating merit, purifying negativity is really something we all have to do. And then this life will become a lot easier. Any other comments? Any other comments from anybody? Or? I'm not giving financial advice, by the way. No, I'm not. But if you want wealth, Nagarjuna says if you want wealth, you have to practice generosity. So make offerings to the Sangha, make offerings to Lama Zopa, make offerings to Thupten Norpa Ling, make offerings to the Dalai Lama, make offerings to poor people, make offerings to sick people, make offerings to your parents, make offerings to beneficial causes, but dedicate them. That this is not just to like feed somebody and give somebody one meal, but by the virtue of this meal, this money I give, may people, in this life have enough to sustain them, and then in future life, may they meet a Dharma teacher, may they be inspired to practice Dharma, may they purify their negativities, may they accumulate merit, may they be interested in the Mahayana great vehicle teachings, and may they become a Buddha. That's the dedication. So that $1 we give to somebody on the street, or somebody, or some charity, or a cup of coffee or tea we give to somebody, therefore becomes a cause for you, the giver, to achieve enlightenment, very profound, and for them, hopefully, to go onto the spiritual path and achieve full enlightenment. Okay, so now the 9-point meditation on death, the inevitability of death. So as the Tibetans love dividing things up, so the 9-point meditation, there are 3 points and then 3 sub-points for each point. So we have 3, 3, 3, 9, 9, 9. So the first one I'll briefly just explain. I'll just explain the three main points, and then we'll do a brief meditation on them because it's important. Okay. So the 3 major headings are: death is definite, the time of death is indefinite, and nothing helps at the time of death except your mind and what you've cultivated on the mind. So death is definite, the time of death is indefinite or uncertain, and nothing helps at the time of death but the virtuous qualities we've created on our mind. Okay, so the first thing, death is definite. We take this for granted, I think, and people take it for granted. I think everybody thinks they know that death's definite. They know it. I think everyone thinks that. And intellectually we can say, oh yeah, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. Let's go out and party. We're all going to die. I'm going to have an argument with my wife tonight. Oh, we're all going to die. I'm going to play football this weekend and go out with my friends. We're all going to die. So why are you still grieving? You know, I mean, this is it. We're all going to die. So why are you so upset about, you've lost your partner, or you've lost your wife, or you've lost your mother or father? I mean, get over it. We're all going to die. So it's flippant, isn't it? Just, it doesn't acknowledge the depth of other people's experience, but we do that. And it's because that first realization in this 9-path meditation, that the inevitability of death, it's just a merest intellectual understanding. It is not a realization. It's not deep. It's just not deep. So how do we make it deep? We make it deep by repeatedly going into it. Repetition. Repetition creates habits, and it creates depth of experience, especially when it's led properly. So repetition is an important karmic tool to create change in the mind. Change doesn't occur the first time, doesn't occur the second time. It might not occur as in Lama Tsongkhapa, when he'd done 1 million of the Mandala offerings, when he'd done 1 million prostrations. Maybe change occurs after 1 million. But we have to start, and we have to start sincerely and deeply. So like today, now, is the start. So think of the inevitability of death. Okay. So let me just check. I just want to check something. Oh, good. Okie dokie. We're going to talk about this more. The inevitability of death and the 9. Okay, so first of all, question to you: has anybody who's ever lived not died? Question number 1. Has any? Mahatma Gandhi, Jesus, Buddha, Genghis Khan, Adolf Hitler, they still alive? Nah, nope. And then all the inconsequential people. I mean, all the Jews who got murdered in Auschwitz, they're definitely not alive. Okay, all the people in Europe in the Second World War who suffered, or so much suffering, they lived through that maybe, they're all dead. All the people who were born 120 years ago, all those babies who were born, they've grown up or they've died. So there is no one, there is no person. Now, it's said that the Buddha could have lived forever, but he chose to die to show us about impermanence. As a matter of fact, the last teaching he gave, whereas the Buddha was dying, he said to his disciples, and they were all grieving, they were all worried, he said, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. This is the last teaching of the Tathagata. So I'll say that again. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. This is the last teaching of the Tathagata. So that was the last words he said to us, all conditioned phenomena. Now, conditioned phenomena are those that come from causes and conditions. So they're impermanent phenomena, they're functioning phenomena, that are things basically everything we experience in life is a conditioned phenomena. There are non-conditioned phenomena, there are permanent phenomena. They talk about like space, permanent space. Cessations are permanent phenomena, but 99.99% of our experience in life is to do with conditioned phenomena, functional phenomena, impermanent phenomena. And as the Buddha said, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent, and implying that the Buddha is a conditioned phenomena. It came from causes. And this is the last teaching of the Tathagata. Then he passed away. So even the Buddha died, and nothing can prevent that. Nothing can prevent that. My older brother, we were talking on the weekend, and he thinks of himself as a bit of a scientist, and he is. He's telling me about his prediction for the future is that, yeah, I mean, people can live to 100, like the Queen of England. She lived to 97, maybe. But he says, well, we'll be replacing bits of us so quickly that by the time our children are born, or our grandchildren, but get older, we'll be able to replace a lot of their bits, and they'll live for a bit longer. And then by the time they get a bit older, other bits will be able to be replaced. So will we have a situation where we have immortality? I don't know. Anybody believe with technology we can create immortality? Well, no, it's a bit, I mean, yeah, you see those movies, those sci-fi movies. Okay, so but maybe we can. There are, as I said, other realms of human beings. The northern land, they have lifespan of 1,000 years, but still they die. The God realms can be eons, but then when they die, it's incredibly tragic for them because they realize they've wasted all that time, and now it's their death will come, and they can see their next rebirth. And so that incredible anguish. Okay, so first of all, so that's the first. So when we talk about the inevitability of death, okay. The second one is the uncertainty of when you will die. So, and when we look at our world, there's absolutely no certainty that we will live even tomorrow, or today, or next week. So there is just that incredible uncertainty. So one of the Buddha says, okay, this is one of the Buddha's stories. Some of the many people you see in the morning, you will not see in the evening. Some of the many people you see in the evening, you will not see in the morning. So I'll say that again. Some of the many people you see in the morning, you will not see in the evening. Some of the many people you see in the evening, you will not see in the morning. Yeah. So we might think there's no evidence. So death is impermanent. So death is unpredictable. Now the third route, and this is something we have to contemplate, the third route is thinking of how nothing can help you when you die except Dharma. Now by Dharma, we mean by mental transformation of the mind. So what is mental transformation of the mind? Transformation of the mind is developing the two accumulations of wisdom and merit. Also purifying negativities. Because at death, it's said that the last moment of death is the cause for our future life. So as Michael was saying, he wants to learn how to die. Well, it's really important that as death approaches and as death becomes very near, that we're ripening a karma that we want to ripen. So we don't want to be fearful at death, because then at fear at death will ripen karmas of insecurity, pain, anguish, or anger. Whereas if we can die with a mind of love, compassion, wisdom, then at death that'll ripen a karma that will take us to a beneficial future life. In particular at death, we meditate on refuge, because refuge is what gives us the next future life. Okay, so can our wealth help us? Can our wealth help us at the time of death? What do people think? The wealthy people have a better, can they take it with them? They can't, can they? They can't take it. I'm sort of Irish background, and the Irish sort of say, there's no pockets in a shroud. So, you put someone when you put someone who's dead in a shroud, they don't put pockets in it, because you can't take it with you. So I love the pharaohs in ancient Egypt, where they had those tombs and put all the wealth there. It's amazing. But they didn't take it. They couldn't take it with them. The second thing is, okay, do friends and relatives help you? All those people, all those relationships, everybody who you admire or they admire you, as you're dying, what can they do? Look, we can help people, obviously. When our loved ones are dying, we can help them, and we just need to be skillful in how we can help them. But when you die alone. When you're born alone. I mean, every experience in life is really yourself alone, and similarly death. Relatives and friends can't help you. No matter how much mourning and weeping and wailing, then there will still be, you'll have to separate from them. And then thirdly, even your body cannot help you. So when you die, even your body, which has been so precious, it's taken from you. It's taken from you. Okay, so we'll do a little meditation on those three things. Death is inevitable. The time of death is uncertain. Third thing is, the only thing that helps at the time of death is Dharma. And then the fourth one is to then evaluate. So within, once again, that lens of understanding death and evaluate what we've done. And the exercise will be to look at what we've done today. From getting up in the morning till now, what have we done today within the perspective or the lens of impermanence and death and impermanence? What have we achieved? What have we done? What have we achieved? Is that sort of clear as mud? I do want to stop talking again. Too much talking. So any people, any comments from anybody or anything? I'm very interested in what you think. Yeah. Okay, well, we can just go on and meditate. Okay, so very simple. Once again, to reiterate, 4 points. Death is definite. The time of death is indefinite or uncertain. The only thing that helps at the time of death is Dharma. And then finally, we examine, we analyze this day, what we've done, those activities within the context of understanding death. There's 3 points of the 9-point meditation. Clear? Okay, so we'll do this for about 10 minutes and then so we'll be sort of drawing to a close a bit, but then we can have a discussion. So we'll just get comfortable and just take a few breaths in and out to stabilize the mind. Okay. Talking about the 9-point meditation on death and the 3 main headings. The first heading is that death is certain. Death is definite. So now we just have a really deep conviction that I will die, everybody will die, every living being will die. Go back in time, go forward in time, and just get a very, very deep conviction about the certainty of death. We'll do this for just a couple of minutes. Now, the next step on the meditation is to think that the time of death is uncertain. The time of death is uncertain. It is not definite. Death can occur at any minute, any second. So meditate on the uncertainty of the time of death. Now we contemplate what helps at the time of death. What helps at the time of death? Is it our body? This body that we treasure so much? Is it our wealth and reputation that we've tried so hard to accumulate? Is it our friends and relatives who are crying around us on our bed? What helps us at the time of death? It is only the Dharma, only our mind. So now we analyze through the perspective or through the lens of understanding death and impermanence. Evaluate what we have done today. From the time we woke up to now, how have we used this life within the context of understanding death and impermanence? Just evaluate the meaning of this life through the context, the lens of death and impermanence. Okay, in your own time and your own space, you can just cease the meditation and relax a little bit. Okay. So how were people's scorecards for today? How did you score yourself? This is a self-assessment. This is your Dharma self-assessment tool. How did you self-assess yourself today?
I gave myself 30%.
Ah, excellent, excellent. 30%. That's cool. Do we have a 32% or a any advances on 30%? Or any less, any 3%, 1%. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm sure you've all met Lama, well, many of you have met Lama Sopa, and I suppose, you know, it's just he's. I don't know. The only word I can use is inhuman. It's what he does in a day is impossible. It's impossible. And I've known him for 35 years, maybe more, maybe 40 years. 1975. I first met him 38 years ago. Yeah. 1975. Yeah. I thought he was weird then, and now he's just it blows my mind. But he's, you know, I mean, I'm sure you maybe you, but you've had these experiences. He used to teach all night. He would teach all night, and he'd always be late, and his classes would go way over time. They'd start late, go over time. Then he'd teach all night, but then His Holiness the Dalai Lama sort of made him promise, you know, no, you're not allowed to teach. We're getting a lot of complaints from your students that you're teaching all night, and you're not allowed to do that. You've got to give people a break, and it's good for your health. You should stop. Don't teach overnight. And so for a little while, like a few years, he started doing it, but then, yeah, and he still doesn't teach overnight. But quite literally, he would go classes overnight, and then we'd break for breakfast, and then he'd start again. Like at 9 a.m. in the morning, he'd start again. And he'd just go, and he didn't change. He was just the same. And we're all sort of gasping for breath, but he would go, and what is it that drives him? And I think it's understanding death and impermanence, and that every moment, every second, there's a moment there where I can engage with a human being or a living being, even animals. I mean, he's engaging with all levels, animals, humans, God. I think he's sort of like vertically integrated within the entire universe whenever he does, because he seems to be moving in and out of different phases of existence as he talks. But there's a moment there that's so precious that he can influence a person or a living being, and he takes that moment. So he won't waste one moment, even if it's at the sacrifice of his own health and his own, well, you know, his own health or whatever. He just keeps giving. He was in Australia when he had his stroke, and he was just sitting on the throne, and his, you know, the side of his face, he started slurring, and you know, his side of his face went weak, and he still kept trying to teach. And then it wasn't until the next day that eventually myself and others managed to get him to hospital for some assessment, and they admitted him to hospital. But he was going to keep just totally self-sacrificing, just totally. And to get him to take medicine was really tough. He had very strong views about that. But then eventually, Roger, his attendant, said to me, Alan, you have to understand that his body is the Vajra body, the diamond body. He's the Buddha's body. His body is the Buddha's body. He controls it. He controls his body. And if he wants to manifest a stroke, and he wants to manifest all these other medical issues, he is determining that. And yes, you can give advice. Yes, you can try to influence them, but he is beyond this. His body is beyond our realm of experience and our realm of understanding. He has total control, and even that of the elements, etc. So yeah, that's our Lama Zopa. He's our boss, you know. every moment, he will not waste one moment to engage in living beings. So that's the end. You've been very patient. Thank you. This is a very long session. I don't know if you want to make this shorter, longer. I don't mind. It's up to you. Or if you want to do different things, well, you tell me what you want. I'm your slave, as I said. I'm your slave.
Yeah.
please. Yeah, just tell me what you need.
I like the path that we're on. I feel
Do
like
you?
I'm definitely learning. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Very
Well,
nice.
okay. Yeah. And we're
Thank
allowed to
you.
get, it's allowed to bring stuff up for us. Like last night, as I was at my Dharma center, we're talking the same subject matter, same meditation we did. At the end of it, as one person after another came up to me and talked about their life and holding back tears and the grief that we all experience. But by giving people a safe place, it was really beneficial, I think, so beneficial. So this is a safe place, and we can all go away and feel a bit of sadness. There will be sadness as we have to say goodbye to things and to people. And maybe there are people here who are very, very sick themselves, and they know that their life is coming to an end soon, and we respect that totally. So hopefully, if we have the karma, the accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom, enough met, then we will meet again in a week. And I really look forward to that. And now we'll just do our dedication. I'll share the screen again and we'll do the dedication prayers. Okay, you should be able to see that. Dedication prayer to achieve Buddhahood. Okay, cool. Okay, due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious supreme bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. Now, for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he's our big boss, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Now, for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, another prayer. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Then we'll just skip that one. And now Lama Sopa. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers, honoring the three sublime ones, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Yes, we know death is impermanent, but we really, really want our teachers to hang around. Please hang around. Please hang around. Thank you. Lovely to see you all again. And we'll see you again. And thank you, Shayla, for organizing stuff and everybody else for contributing. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.